Hello and welcome to this episode of Carmen's Coaching Corner. And if you haven't noticed, I have the beautiful Rhonda sitting next to me. Rhonda Vroman?
Yes.
Is that how you say it?
That's how you say it.
I'm acting like I've never met Rhonda before, but I have. But I don't typically say her last name, so that's why I'm just confirming the pronunciation of that. So Rhonda and I are both, if you're in the Phoenix area, we both work out of a wonderful space called Pathways of Grace, and that's how we became to know each other. I'm also very honoured to have experienced working with Rhonda. She actually worked with me on one of the modalities that she does, and we're going to talk about that during the course of the next 10 or 15 minutes. But before we get into our conversation, I can't wait. I'm going to introduce you to Rhonda, and you know, when you've now noticed that when you have these guests, when I've had guests on the show, I always read their bio because I just think if I can't do justice to what you do. That's why I need a little cheat sheet here to help me do it. Just being transparent there. All right. So Rhonda's work is with people who are interested in dying to the self. We will talk about this. Dying to the self, to patterns of thinking, ways of being, and emotional responses that are no longer supportive. After 25 plus years in marketing and marketing research, leading teams of people and owning her own consultancy for 9 years, she continued to see habitual patterns holding people back and not allowing for overall success. Rhonda left corporate in 2016, I left a year after you, having several years earlier began the journey of digging into her own self, defeating patterns, and embarking upon decades of study and work with spiritual directors and yogic principles. She now uses these observations and her teachings to help others. And you really do. Rhonda is a certified body psychology yoga therapist in the Amrit energy method. Did I say that? Oh, thank you. It's like, you know, I can't read a worse than it. She is extensively trained and experienced in guiding the journey of the dying to self and incorporates mind, body, and heart, soul connecting approaches. This training includes an engineering and MBA degrees, RYT 500. What does that mean?
That means registered yoga teacher, different designation, so that's 500.
And if you know anything about that, you can see how experienced Rhonda is. And guiding over 1,500 hours of classes. She also offers yoga nidra, healing, sound, and spiritual direction, love sound therapy. If you've never experienced sound healing, go experience it. It's one of the most amazing things you can do for your body and your mind and your spirit. She has personally experienced profound shifts through embracing this journey and now has the honor of being a conduit for these changes in others.
And it is an absolute honor. So thank you for having me here, my dear.
Oh no, it's such an honor for me to have you on my coaching corner. You know, it's always nice to have somebody else doing this with me because it's not just me being a talking head and trying to share what I've learned through what I've been taught and what I've learned through my own experiences and what I study as well, because you're a lifelong learner like me, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you have such wisdom to share with your clients and with others. So
thank you.
Wonderful to know you.
Oh, same here, Rhonda. And you know, I've experienced you in person. I had a session with you.
Yes.
And it was just so you know, my body felt so different after you did your magic.
Okay. Tell me, what did it feel like?
Well, it just, you know, it's so amazing. You know, I talk a lot about energy, and but I don't do it from a yoga perspective. Or, you know, it's just a different modality. But it's so true that we hold so much of our emotion in our body, and it causes so many different symptoms.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Exactly.
And the more in tune you are with your body and the more you kind of go, oh, that doesn't feel right, right? And the experience I had with you was just, you know, I didn't have any expectations going into my yoga therapy
just
session
showed
with
up
you.
blank slate. That's the best way to show up if you can possibly manage to do that.
Yeah, and I'm like, I just want to experience it for what it is. You know, I just want to learn from this experience because I was very curious. I'll be completely, you know, open and honest about that. I was like, let's see what this yoga therapy deal is all about. So you worked with me, and it was just a really beautiful experience. And you moved my body in ways that I haven't really moved before, because you had me do different assume the position, kind of thing, do different positions, and it wasn't ever painful because you worked with me where I was at, you know, and I just really appreciate that about you. And at the end of it, it was just very calming and relaxing, and I really felt like a lot of things moved through my body just through the movements and the questions that you asked during the experience. So I really appreciate that time with you, Rhonda.
Well, I appreciate you kind of stepping over the ledge, because you have this term, yoga therapy or body psychology, and it's like, neither of those terms really do the experience justice, in my opinion. But there's also this, how do you describe it? I had one client describe it as it should be movement medicine. Well, that doesn't do it either.
Right. Because it's so much more than that.
Yes.
You know, when you think about medicine, I think about something that I'm taking orally.
Exactly.
Right? And so, but what you do is so much more than that. And in your bio, we talked about dying for the self, right? Can you just elaborate a little bit more?
I'd love to.
Some people, they'll be like, huh, what is that?
I'd love to, but if it's okay, I want to come back to something that you said relative to your experience. And you talked about me putting you, or you being in different poses. And I just want to clarify for the audience, the yoga therapy is assisted. So any place that Carmen was going was with her, as she shared, full consent.
Yes.
But also, the movement is such that we're not necessarily able to do that movement on our own. And that's where I can act as a conduit through my training. And it's really all about, as you said, you move that energy. We all have layers of things that have trickled through our different bodies and end up in our physical body. And then we're not able to really release them. And yoga therapy can help release. And like you said, you had a calming experience. Other people have different experiences, and it's different every time.
Yes.
Yes.
It is, because it's how you, whatever energy you're showing up with that day is probably going to affect the experience that you have in a moment. And I've noticed that when I've done yoga or any kind of exercise, when I do running, you know, I go running regularly in a week, and it's not like I run a marathon or anything like that, but like, you know, I do
Look at her, she obviously runs.
But I find, I don't know whether you do, but I find that every time I do it, it's a different experience. My body is different energy levels, or my mind's in a different place, and sometimes I really love the experience, and other times I'm like, Jesus, this is really going to be hard work for me today. Right. But I do it anyway, because I know that the result I get from it is so beneficial to me. You know, and you have to go in with kind of like a clean mind about it, and no expectations, because every time you do it, it's going to be a different experience.
Brand new experience.
Yeah.
And in my teachings, we call that beginner's mind. So if we can show up without an expectation, let's say that was your 7th yoga therapy session, but each time we step on the mat, or each time we go for a run, or each time we sit down and do a podcast or a video conference, we can show up as if it's for the first time, and that's where the depth and the teachings and the learnings come from. Because we're not who we were the last time we ran, or the last time we took a class, or the last time we had a yoga therapy session.
And I think you'll appreciate this with the background that you have. You know, I was a project manager for many, many years, and to keep my accreditation, my PMI certification, it's a project management certification for those of you not in that field. I regularly go to network meetings and stuff like that, and sometimes it's like, oh God, I'm just doing this to get my credit, right? But I kind of changed my attitude about it, because I went in and I went, even if I think I know already about the topic that's going to be shared during that meeting, I wanted to go in with it with a fresh pair of eyes and ears. And a different heart perspective, right? Because, you know, you can never not be in a place of learning. And so having that beginner's mind, I love that you have that. I've never heard of that before. No, I learned something. I always see what I mean. I always learn something new, right?
Yes.
So having that beginner's mind kind of attitude is really healthy and beneficial to you, I think, in anything that you take on, because it just keeps you open and curious and receiving.
Exactly.
right? And I think that's a lot what you do.
That is my part of my purpose, part of my intent, and also maybe I'm the only one, but I doubt I'm the only one, where you have somebody that has a habitual way of showing up that might push a button a little bit, or you might have had interactions that you deemed not as positive as you might like. And it's really easy to look at that person and go, oh, I've got a meeting with this person again, or oh, this person's showing up, and again, it's that opportunity for beginner's mind, right? So if we can show up with a clean slate, all of that happened is the past.
It's so true. You know, another way I like to call it is being curious. It's having that curiosity.
It's going to happen today.
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
Yeah, exactly. And I can so resonate with what you were talking about, because, you know, if you have your typical corporate cubicle job, right, where you're spending 8, 10, 12 hours, 16 hours of your day stuck in that space, and you're looking at your inbox and you're feeling that overwhelm, or if you see somebody's, and I was totally guilty of this until I learned ways of not doing this anymore, right, is I would see somebody's name in my inbox and it would give me either a feeling of, oh God, you know, that idiot again. I'm just being, you know, because we have these thoughts, right, oh, that idiot again, or I would get that pit in my stomach because I didn't want to open the email because it would make me feel sick in my stomach, because I knew the email probably wouldn't be a good one. Exactly. All these kind of different emotions are not necessarily the high level emotions. They're all what we would call the lower level emotions. They're feeling fear, worry, anxiety, just overwhelm. Immediately put you in that place of stress. Right. And you know, they're coming in with a totally different mindset about it. It's just huge, you know, and I work with clients in one way, but you work with them in a totally different way, and that's why I'm so happy to have you here. So just
let me come back to my question into the dying to self that you asked me, and then I kind of moved into the beginner's mind.
Right.
So many people work with people on a intellectual level, which is so needed and so necessary, and the coaching that Carmen does is you know, really profound and helps people move into another level. My work is focused on how things show up in our physical body, because anything we haven't processed, because we didn't want to, our personality said, no, I'm not going there, that kind of thing, right? Eventually it shows up in our physical body. We have different types of bodies, but for now we'll talk about physical. And so it's all energy. It gets stuck. It gets kind of congested, like traveling on the 51 southbound at 5 o'clock in the afternoon if you live in Phoenix.
Yeah,
congested freeway.
Or the I-17, which is even worse.
Okay, right. So blessedly, I don't have to do a lot of those commutes anymore. But when I do, I'm like, oh boy, am I grateful. But anyway, that aside. So the energy gets kind of stuck around something you have to process, or a circular habitual pattern. So when I say my work is dying to self, it's not so much about dying to this earthly journey that we're on. It's much more about dying to the habitual responses. So for example, oh, that person's name's in my inbox, you know, what am I going to do with this? So can we reframe, can we rethink? And you know, to get a little personal here, a lot of this really came into my level of awareness about 4 years ago. I had the great and very challenging honor of spending the last few weeks of my mom's life with her in close proximity. And it was a brief, my sister and I called it the long, short journey, but not to go into all of that because it seemed very long, but it was brief. It was 8 weeks from diagnosis to leaving the physical plane. But through that, this was a woman who was driven, who got everything done, who cared for people, who had a meticulous home, this huge yard. It looked like a park. I mean, you know, just very much probably on the Enneagram, she was a perfectionist, right? Yeah. And to watch her make this transformation of just kind of going from this to, over a very short period of time, just opening up. Yes, she was dying physically, but she was also dying to those habitual patterns, to
Just letting things go.
Yeah, and it was such an incredible honor to be able to be there and just hold space, as we call it, just being that present witness for that. But I often, in addition to having the gift of being there with her, and so were my family members, there's such a lesson in that unfolding. It's like the bud that's really tightly held, and then to just see it blossom in this unexpected, such profound way as she let go on many levels, and as she died to whatever was driving, in her case, a sense of, you know, getting it all done and being so profoundly perfect about so many things. It was just so beautiful, and I hold that as an image of what I work on for myself, right? Because we can't teach anything we're not working on ourselves, as well as that which I can help my clients see in yoga therapy. One way to move into it.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. When you were sharing that story with your mum, I got goosebumps. I got goosebumps because, you know, we hold on to things so tightly. We hold on to our behaviors so tightly, thinking that that's the only way that we can exist. Right?
Because it's what we've done. We assume it's what people expect. Back to fear. It's like, well, if I don't know, make something up. If I don't bake that perfect cake or have that perfect meal or host this in my home, will people like me? Will they still care? Or whatever that fundamental rooted fear is. And many times it just takes such work to get to the bottom of it. I've got lots of excavation to do. I'm always excavating. I love that part of it, but I also sometimes go, really, enough already. But it's just a wonderful journey, because there's always, through the shadows, we are always being the light. We're always being illumined. We also always.
And we're so afraid of going in the shadows, right? But really, that's where our lessons are learned.
That's so true. And that's what I get to help. I mean, I get to do this.
Yeah.
I get to help people dig into their shadows.
You know, when I've had some really dark times during the years, you know, and I would say emotional dark times, mentally dark times, and you know, and it may sound to people like, oh, it's easy for you to say because you come out the other side, but you know, it wasn't easy. I've done a lot of work. I've worked with a lot of mentors and teachers and done certifications to actually get me through to do the tools that I have now, right? And being able to just kind of embrace all the aspects of yourself. There is the darkness and there is the light, right? Shining a light on the shadows and asking it, what are you trying to teach me in this moment? You know, it can be huge. Just so huge, rather than kind of stuffing it down and being ashamed of it. Because I can't tell you, Rhonda, you know, when I was going through a highly stressful time in my career, I had so much shame about that, because I was kind of like this perfectionist person. I'm a recovering perfectionist. But like,
we're all recovering.
You know, it's like, okay, 80-20 rule, Carmen, it's all good. Or even sometimes 60-40, it's all good. And I wouldn't invite people to my home if it didn't look a certain way. You know, because I was raised believing that you had to have a pristine house and everything, you know, that you didn't want to touch any surfaces and have to, I mean, it was just like insane. And it's like, it took me a long time to learn the value of the fact that people just want to connect with you. You're being.
If there's 3 months of dust on
who cares? You know, I mean, there's some level of cleanliness people appreciate.
3 months might be an exaggeration.
Appreciate, but at the same time, it's like, if you can let go of these habitual programmings, right, and just exist with others and accept the fact that, allow yourself to receive, right? Your mother was in that phase of allowing herself to truly receive. And that's such a huge thing. When you're able to receive, you get so much more from it. And because giving is receiving.
And she was such a gift in her, just like.
Would you say that was the impetus that made you come into this line of work, or was there something else that did it for you?
No, I started down this line of work many, many years ago. I've been working with the spiritual director for, oh my gosh, 25 plus years. And I think it started in real earnestness when I went through a divorce. It wasn't like there were many. The divorce I went through, and it would be okay if there were many. And I remember, I can relate to what you're saying, Carmen, because I remember going through the divorce, and on all levels it was amicable by any standards I've ever seen. Not that there's a need to compare it or judge it. Nevertheless, there's a real change that happens. I mean, obviously, you're no longer living with this person. You're on your own. We had children, but I can remember going through this. It just felt like I was in this big dark tunnel, and I was just kind of in the middle of it, and I couldn't see the light behind me, and I couldn't see the light in front of me. And I remember speaking to a counselor at the time. So similar to, you go through those dark shadow journeys. We all do. And those people that pretend they don't, I don't know why. I mean, because we're just not ready to look at them, right?
Yeah.
I still have shadows. I'm still
absolutely. We all say,
But so I was going through this, and I remember the words of a counselor, because I was like, whoa, I don't know what to do with this. This is kind of like a new thing. And her words were, it's okay. This is just where you're at right now.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't like you're going to stay in this tunnel where you can't see the light on behind you or in front of you.
Right.
And that really was a big part of my impetus to move into this spiritual journey. Because my work is, at its essence, it's all about spiritual awakening, spiritual development, spiritual connection.
Yeah.
And we use the physical body, the energy body to do that. But that was a big start, a big push going, okay. And then I remember my first yoga class. It was so profound because I was rushing.
Right, rushing to
get there. There's an oxymoron there, rushing to get to yoga class. And I remember after an hour later, I walked out kind of like I was just transformed. I was like, oh, everything was just kind of floating by. It was just a little easier. Whatever I'd been all wound up about wasn't there. And I just thought that was so profound, and I was so curious, to use your word, as how can that possibly happen? How in 1 hour, in 60 minutes, can you walk in like this and walk out? Yeah, so that was also part of that journey, and then eventually moving into teachers training and many other exploratory modalities.
Oh, wow. So I was looking at your bio, and I was looking at your services and stuff, and I'd really, if you don't mind, we talked about your yoga therapy somewhat, but I'd really like to touch upon the sound healing piece of it.
I'd love to do that. I'm the proud owner of a very wise gong. I just purchased this. It's a whole other story. Maybe we'll save it for another time. Such a trip. A lot of trust and faith in that one. My modality that I've used before the gong are pure quartz crystal singing bowls. And the idea of the sounding is it creates such a vibratory impact. So it literally reaches every cell in your body, because we're 70-75% water, right? And so you get the vibrations. I'll share an experience I had with the sound bath a few years ago.
Okay.
Not that many years ago, actually. And I was in this sound bath, happened to be a gong. And by the way, I've had people say, sound bath, does that mean you're in water? So let me clear the vernacular. It's like a sound immersion. You're in the vibration, but you're not in water, to alleviate any concerns about that. But I was experiencing the sound bath, and I had these really vivid images, because what it can do is it can really drop you in beneath that thinking, busy mind.
Yeah.
The
beta mind, right?
Yeah.
To lower alpha.
Lower alpha, even delta,
and
gamma. It can bring you down. Sometimes even theta and delta.
Yeah.
And I remember the imagery, and I won't go into all of that because it's a little wild, and again another time. But my husband and I had been married at the time for 12 years, and I had been living with his former spouse's furniture in my home.
Oh, wow.
For 12 years. It's like, was I awake? I don't know. I kept kind of saying I'm going to get rid of it. He wasn't like attached to it, but he's a
but sometimes practical too.
He's very practical. Yeah. Well, there's nothing wrong with this furniture, and on one physical level, he's absolutely right. But on an energetic level, it's like, no way. I walked in from the sound bath, and I said, I don't care how this furniture is out of here in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. I was just like, so. Oftentimes it's not that tangible, but that was such a tangible reminder of
everything is energy and has a frequency.
Energy and it's a frequency, and I didn't need, she's a lovely woman, but I don't need that energy in the space we have created with intentionality.
Yeah.
Your shifts in sound bath aren't usually quite that like, whoa, not that they need to be, but there's always those subtler levels that show up, which is why I use that modality, because again, I only use that which I found to be so profound for me, because then you really can know what is happening. Everybody's experience is different.
And again, it's like we said, every time you have a sound healing with crystal bowls or Tibetan bowls or gongs or tuning forks, because there's different ways that you can experience it.
Positive ways.
The experience every single time is going to be different. And I have to say, it's one of my favorite healing modalities is sound healing. It really is. I just absolutely love it. Now, I don't give it. I like to go experience it. But I really truly believe that it's going to be one of the things I incorporate in my coaching in the future, because it's just the benefit that you get from it, because it's like you said, it affects every single cell in your body, because every cell has its own frequency. I think the frequency of a cell is like 1.17 hertz, and it reacts to that. And one of my experiences, and we're going to wrap this up very soon, but one of my experiences was that I literally felt every cell in my body kind of dematerialize. It's almost like being in the Star Trek when they did Beam Me Up, Scotty, with the whole Beam Me Up thing. It felt like that, where you see them in the more modern versions of Star Trek, where they're kind of dematerializing and then rematerializing. And it really does have that effect. For me, anyway, I feel like that. Yeah. That was my experience. And I feel like I get that experience almost every time, but the effects of it, the emotional benefits are different every time. Exactly. But yeah, it's absolutely an amazing modality. So if you ever get the chance to experience it, please do. So how can people get hold of you, Rhonda? What's the best way?
I have a website, Even Being, because I think it just captures the essence of that evenness in life, where you're not responding, you're responding, but you're not reacting, you're not fluctuating up and down. That even being is one of the founding principles by which I gravitate towards. So evenbeing.com, Rhonda at evenbeing.com. I have a Facebook page and an Instagram account, even.being.
And I will be sure to include all the ways you can contact the lovely Rhonda in the verbiage accompanying this video. And if you have any comments, please share. If you can resonate with anything that we just talked about, and no pun intended, right, with resonation, right? But, to wrap this up, as always, in love and light to your transformation and growth, Carmen.
Thank you so much, Carmen.
You're welcome, Rhonda. It's lovely having you.
To get started, please call or email me or schedule an appointment on my website.